Yeah, hello guys, welcome to today's session. And in this session, what we'll be doing is basically going through how to actually send email within our system. And the email that we'll be sending is basically a welcome message to the users to let them know that their registration was actually successful, more like a mail as notification within the system. So in order for us to be able to send mail, we are going to need to actually sign up for an email service, and we are also going to need to also install the email package provided for us by the Go community. So in order to install the package, this is the package. All we need to do is okay. So how this how we install it? Go get. So all you need to run on your code edit on your terminal is go get this. And the reason why it is not running is because I already have it installed in my machine. So the cached version is picked up. So in order to use it, all we need to do is import this guy and we start using it. So let's go over to our application. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another file inside the internal folder, another folder. I'm going to call it mailer, and this mailer will contain everything regarding our configuration and sending out of emails. So for the mailer, I'm also going to create a new file and I'm going to call it mailer. So the package name is mailer, as you can see. So what I'm going to do now is inside the mailer, we are going to need a struct. This should be a struct. Let me call it. It should be a struct type struct, and the mailer will basically contain two things: dialer, which is of type gomail.dialer, and it will also contain the sender, which will also be of type gomail sender. Let's see. Um, no. There's no one I'm looking for. The sender here that I want to register is basically what we want to use to actually send the mail out. So sender. So this would be a string, more like maybe something like no reply, no reply at gmail.com, or let's say at the name of our app, budgety.com, right? That's basically what the sender actually represents. So another thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create, so as you can see in the documentation, we need an instance of the mailer to actually send out mail. So I'm going to create a function that will help us create an instance of the mailer, and I'm going to call it new app. I'm going to call app mailer. It's giving me some nice options there. New app, app, new. Let me call it new mailer. Let me just remove this for now. So the new mailer will be expecting a sender and a dialer. So what I am going to do now is I'm not going to accept the sender. We'll be getting the sender and we'll be initializing the dialer right inside this part. So in order to send mail, we are going to need some environment variables, which I'm going to copy in a moment. So let me copy the environment variable. So these are the environment variable we'll be using. So I'm just going to copy that and paste right here. So the mail host is basically mailtrap.io. I'm going to be making use of mailtrap, then the port, the username, then the sender, blah blah blah, and the like. So this is what we'll be calling the sender here, support at budgetnista.finance, and the mail password. So let's sign up on Mailer. I'm just going to go to a guest account. I want to go to a guest account, new incognito mode. I'm going to go to mail trap. So I'm going to sign up on this mail trap using, I just want to show us how to actually go about it. So I'm going to be using code with C, code with C. Let me get the email correct. Code with C mail at gmail.com. Also, you are going to input your password and your confirm password. So once you fill in the necessary information, you will be sent a confirmation mail. Okay, now I have confirmed my email address. I'm just going to refresh this and I'm going to go to login. Email, I'll enter my email. I will also enter. So I've entered my password. I've clicked on remember me, like so, and I've gotten access to the email. So I want to start testing. So once you get to this page, then that means you can actually start making use of. So what I want to do is an email address, SMTP. SMTP is what we want to use. So what we need is the username and password. So I'll copy the username, right? And I'll come in here, paste it here, and I'll copy the password, come in here and paste it right here. So that is all we need from Mailtrap. So what we are going to do now is let me minimize this, is we are going to then start the initialization of our mailer. And to initialize our mail, all we need to do, if we recall going back to the documentation, what is required of us is to basically do this, like so. But since we will be using environment variables, our mode of actually initializing the mailer will be quite different from how it has been initialized here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to retrieve the mail ports, like so. But I'm going to retrieve the mail ports. I'm going to retrieve the host, mail host, like so. I'm going to retrieve the mail user. I'm going to retrieve the mail password. So how do we use to define our mail password? So it is mail password, and the username is mail username, mail host is correct, mail port is correct. And the mail host, so what we are going to pass in here now is the mail host, then the mail port, then we are going to pass in the mail user, and we are going to pass in the mail password. So you can see now that the mail port is actually complaining, and that is because when you are retrieving data from your environment variable, it will come in the form of a string. So we have to like convert it to int. So what we are going to do here now is we are just going to use the string convert, str convert to int. So this will actually convert our string to int, and it will either throw an error, that is if it is unable to convert, or it will actually convert. So what I'm just going to do here is I'm going to panic, or I can accept the logger. Let me see if I can accept the logger, so I can just log this right here. If I'm going to accept the logger, let me copy the logger, come here, paste, call this logger, and I'm going to call this logger dot fatal error, like so. Then now that we've actually initialized our dialer, I'm going to call this dialer. I'll just leave it like that. So now that we've actually initiated our dialer, what we'll be returning now is return mailer, the struct we actually created, and we are going to pass in the dialer as we have initiated it, and we are going to pass in the sender, that is this our mail sender. Let me retrieve that. Sender, mail sender. So let's confirm that we have the environment correct. Mail sender, that's correct. So we'll just pass in the mail sender right there, like so. Then we are going to return the mailer, like so. So now we've created a method to actually initiate our mailer. Now the question is, where are the places that we actually use our mailer? We are most likely going to be using it often in the services and in the controller. So I'm just going to go to the handler, and I'm going to associate the mailer to it. So the mailer that we've created, I'm going to call it mailer, like so. So this is the mailer. Remember to make sure that you are importing it from the internal package, or wherever package you are placing your own mailer. Then I'm going to go to the main function where we are initiating our handler, and I'm going to initiate the mailer. Let me say mailer, or let me just call it app mailer equals to new mailer, and we are going to pass the logger, e.logger, like so, as expected, and we are going to associate the mailer to our handler. So once the association is done, now that we have our mailer initiated, what we need to do now is we need to actually create a way to send out mail in our application. So after we've actually initiated our mailer, the next thing we need to do is to actually create a function that we'll be using to send out mail in our application. So I'm going to create a function for that, call it mailer, and this will be like a pointer. I'll call this mailer as a variable, and this will be send. So in order to send mail, we need some data. For number one, we need the recipients, the person that will be receiving the mail, recipient. We need the subject, of course. So I will not be following this. So what I will be needing is the recipient, which must be a string, and it must be a valid email, of course. And we need a template file, that is the file that we actually want to process to actually send the mail out. Templates file, and this will be a string as well, the name of the template file actually. Then we need data, that is metadata, that we are going to be using to replace anything or any variable that is inside the template file. So for that, I'm going to create another struct. And the struct will basically be, I'll call it email data. And the struct will contain, number one, the app name, which is going to be a string. Number two, the subject, which is also the subject of our mail. And we are going to pass in a metal, metal. And this will be an interface. So, or I can call it any, you can call it anything you like. So the meta will basically contain the datas that are dynamic. So that is what that will be. So I'm going to associate it. Okay. Now that we've actually initiated our send method that we'll be using to send emails, there are some couple of things that we need to actually take care of. Number one, uh, in order for us to send mail, we need some set of templates that we'll be using to actually send mails out. So in order to have access to this template, there is something called embedded in Golang. So I'm just going to search for it, embedded Golang. So the embedded package is basically going to give us the ability to actually have the files or templates that we want to use to send mail out of our application within the build that we are going to create. So that way we don't have to actually save it in another place to access the file. So DB provides access to files embedded in a running Go program. Then how do we actually define this embedded variable, and how do we actually make use of it? So in order to make use of it, I'm just going to scroll down to where you can see there are a couple of ways for you to actually make use of the embedded. All you need to do is copy this, right? So the idea is the Go build, when you build it, we recognize that the directive and arrange for declared variables, blah, blah, blah. Basically, the ability is once you build your application, Go will be able to actually access those files. So that's what we are going to do now. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to put it somewhere here. So what I'm going to call it is, I'm just going to call it templates fs. I'm going to remove this. Then I'm going to create a folder called templates. So right here, I'm going to create a folder called, you can already see that it is complaining because there is no folder called templates within our route here, within our file here. So I'm going to create it. I'm going to call it templates. Now you can see it is no longer complaining. So you can see it is telling us it cannot embed an empty directory. So I'm just going to create a template, call it an HTML file. I'm going to call it welcome.html. I will also create another one. I will call it hello.html, right? So that way, our Go program will now be able to access those files. Now, let's make use of it. How do we actually make use of it? So the first thing we need to do is we need to actually generate a way to actually access the file names. So this file, template file that I'm defining here, it is the names in this template that are going to be sent to us. That is what we let us know the templates to actually use to send out the mail. So I'm going to generate an absolute path, absolute path, absolute path. So this absolute path is going to generate a path, but this is not what I want. To be file path dot join. So we want to join the templates directory to the template file path, right? So let me be sure we've actually imported the right file path. Okay, I believe it is correct. I believe it is correct. But this file path only returns no error. So the next thing now is we want to actually pass. If we go to the Go templates documentation, let's go to the Go templates documentation. This is how you actually pass a Go template. But remember that we are using FS this thing. So what we are going to do now is we are going to say templates. So this templates, so this template here is the package of HTML templates, and I'm going to import it like so. So we are going to pass it using the template FS, and we are going to pass in the absolute path. So what this is going to do now is it is going to check for this file based on the templates that we actually, based on the embedded FS that we actually defined here. And the reason why we are using FS is because we are using embedded FS as well. So we are going to check if there is any error. Then if there is an error, we want to return the error. Also, we can use our mailer to actually log. We can log, I believe we should have access. So what I'm going to do now is I will do a little refactor so that I can have access to the logger right here. I'm going to move this out of here and I'm going to move it here. I'm going to call it logout and I'm going to call it mail. I'm going to call it, how do I access it then? Okay, so it's correct. It is correct. It is correct. So logger, I'll call it logger. I'm going to still pass it. Let me Control Z. Then I'm going to create a logger here. I'm going to call this logger. And I'm going to pass it right here, logger, like so. So that way we have access to the logger right here. So we can mail that dot logger error. So the reason why I'm not sending a fatal error here is because I don't want our application to break. So I just want to log any error if there is any at all. So now that we have our templates defined, the next thing that we need to do is based on the data sent, we want to send the app name, data.app name. So the data.app name will be env.getEnvironment, env os.getEnvironment, and the environment further we want is getEnv, sorry, os.getEnv, and we want to pick the app name. The app, it has to be a string, the app name. So we need to define our app name in our environment variable. So I'm going to call it, let's just say Budgety, like so. Then once we've populated the app name. So normally during the process of passing the data, the data subject and the likes and the metal data will have been passed. What I'm going to do now is in our HTML templates, we are going to have some couple of section within it. So the first thing I'm going to define out here is the subject section. So in order to define a section in the Golang template, all you need to do is define like so, and you call the name of this section. I'll call this one subject, right? You close it, then you access the subject variable subject. Remember that I'll explain further, then you end like so. So now we've actually defined a subject section. So in order to pass data into the subject section, that is why we must actually now do this. We say the subject, not like this. We need to create a pointer to a buffer. So it will be bytes.buffer, and we need to then execute the templates just like it is being done here. Executing the templates, this is what we need. Execute templates. So execute templates is expecting the subject you are passing in, the name of the section that you are passing the data, which is we called subject. If we check our hello again, we called it subject, and the data that you are actually passing in. So our data will actually go in there. Then if there is any error, we want to return the error, then I'll also log it right here. So that is for subject. We need to do the same thing for the HTML section. That is the parts that will be holding dynamic data regarding HTML. So just like we defined for this, we are going to define this as well. Just before the doc type, I'm going to define, and I'm going to call it HTML body. Then we need to end. Then anything that we want to define inside here, we can access it. So I'm going to say, we'll just say, welcome to. So the dot notation, based on the data that we are passing in, if you check our mailer again, let's see our configuration. You see that we are passing app name and we are passing subject, and this email data will be passing it into this template, which is basically the data that is coming in here, right here. So we can access subjects as we have accessed it here in the hello as dot subject. The same way we can access the app name like so. So I'm going to say app name, exactly how you have actually defined it in the struct. Let me just copy to be sure. So now that we've done that, then we need to go to the gomailer and also perform the same thing that we've done here in the for the HTML body section as well. So I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to call it HTML body. I'm going to pass it in. It is going to look for the HTML body templates like so. Then our data will be passed in like so. So I don't know, this is showing an error. Okay. we define this twice. So now that we've actually done that, the next thing is we need to create a message that we are actually sending. So that will be message equals to gomail.new message. Let me call it go mail message. Gomail message. And we are able to set some header. Gomail message does set header. Set header. So the header that we want to set, the first one is to the person we are sending the email to, which is the recipient. We also need to set the header for who is actually sending the mail, which will be from the sender, mailer sender, right? Just like we've defined it. Then we need to set another template. We'll call it subject, another header subject. So this subject is basically what we first show when the email enters the user mail. So that will be mailer uh subject. Okay, subject dot string. So this subject that we define here, that's basically what we are doing. Then why is this complaining? Rename to, it's okay, Joe. Okay. So renamed. So the next thing that we also need to do is we need to set the body, and we are using text.html, and we are setting the HTML body to string. Then after that, we can then dial and send. So error. So mailer.dial and send. So what this will do is to first of all dial to test if the connection is okay, then it will then send the email out. So if any error occurs, we want to log it, mailer dot logger dot error, right? And we return nil. So if there is no error, we are going to return nil. Now our send method is ready to be used. Now, in order to use it, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go to the auth handler, and I'm going to call the mailer. Remember that in our main.go file, we've associated the mailer, and we've also initiated the mailer and associated it to our handler. So all I need to do now is say handler was h dot mailer dot send. Now, the recipient of our mail will be the email of the user that registered. So that will be payload dot email, right? Payload dot email payload dot email what else do we need? Okay, we are not attaching any other thing, right? We are not attaching any other thing, right? So payload.email, and we are going to specify the template's name, and the template that we are using here is basically the welcome.html, right? Okay, this should be a string, sorry. It's welcome.html, right? And the last thing we need to send is we need to push is the remember we need to push the email data, right? But for now we don't have anything in our email data, so I'm just going to send I'm just going to initiate an empty email data, email data, fill in all the fields. I'm going to call it mail data. I'm going to remove this since we are setting it. In fact, I can remove it from being accessible. I can prevent it from being accessible outside. Will that work? Let me see. App name. Okay, so that way the app name cannot be actually changed outside. So auth handler, and I'm going to pass in the subject welcome basically. Oh, sorry, it is the hello template that we actually modified, right? So it should be the hello templates. So that will be hello, hello, Jetty, and the metal will just be empty like so, and we'll pass in the mail data. So now let's undo the error. So if there's any error, we'll just what we are going to do is we are just going to log it h dot logger. You don't want registration to fail. Let me just say error. You don't want registration to fail just because an error occurred during the process of sending mail. You don't need that. So now let's go back to our application and try to rerun our application. Make run dev. Hopefully we have no error. Okay, no error in our application. And I'm going to try to register. Email is already taken. I'm going to supply a new email. So let's see. So as we can see in our terminal, we are getting HTML subject is undefined. Subject is undefined. So as you can see, the registration went through, but the email didn't go through. So that is how you should actually build an application. You shouldn't prevent the user sign up from stopping because you can always reinitialize the sending out of the email. It should be mail data. I didn't spell this correctly. So let's try to figure out why our email is actually failing. Oh, hold on. Let's see. Let me go to auth handler. So we should be passing the hello.html. Hello.html. So that was why it was failing. So let's refresh. Because we've not defined anything inside our welcome template, but it exists inside this template exists inside our hello.html. So we should be good now. So 6. Bam. So I think our email, okay, we are getting another error. Can't evaluate field app name. So it is trying to, so this will be in small letter. Because we've actually changed the attributes. Although we've actually changed the attributes. So let's see if it will work again. Let's reload. Let me say 7. Okay, we are still getting an error. App name is unexported field struct. So we have to make the app name actually, it has to be in capital letter. The app name has to be in capital letter. So let's go back, say app name, like so, like so. Then in our hello, we also update it. Then let's refresh. So now let's go back to this. So you see now our email seems to have gone through. So let's check our um Let's check our window. Where is the window that we actually, our mail trap? Let's bring up our mail trap. Now you see, so we see we are getting the welcome to the Bugatti message, and we can see our welcome hello as the, we can see the hello as the what's the name, as the subject. We can see the from, all the headers that we actually set, right? So that is for hello, but that is not the message we actually want to send to our user. The message we want to actually send to our user is much more complete than that. So I'm going to just, I already have it set up. I'm just going to copy it and pause to paste it to our template. So I'm just going to go to our, so I'm going to copy this guy, paste it inside the welcome.html template. So it's a template that I've already pre-designed. So I'll make somewhere that you can copy it available at the end of this lecture. So as you can see, the title here is welcome.name. So you can see we define the subject template, we define the HTML body template. Then inside the HTML template, we are able to accept the app name. We define some random SCSS. So as you can see here, we are accessing the app name, welcome to the Bugatti. Then dear dot meta, first name of the user, welcome on board. We are thrilled to have you on board. On the app name, basically just blah blah blah, things like that. So what we are going to do now is we are going to go back to our auth handler, and we are going to replace this with welcome.html. And we need to update our meta. We need to update our meta to actually be able to, in order for our meta to be able to have access to the in order for our email to actually have access to the user data, the first name, last name, and the likes that we are actually accessing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to define an anonymous struct, and the anonymous struct is going to contain the first name. I don't need the JSON, and it's also going to contain a login link. So the login link is just for our user to be able to click on and go to our application and register. And we are also going to have, so the first name will be the user, the created user, the registered user dot first name. We are also, no need for comma, sorry, registered user dot first name. So this has to be like so. Then we need to pass the login link. So for now, I'm just going to pass hash as the login link, right? So if you, let's visit, so you can see I'm checking metal.metal.metal.metal.login link. So what, and so we've built our metadata, we are sending it out. So let's rerun our application. In order to run our application, so let's register another user. Let's hope that goes through. Okay, so we can see our email has actually gone through. So let's bring up the email again. So the user that we just registered, which is T9, so you can see a very nice email. Welcome to Bugatti, dear Let, welcome on board, blah blah blah, all of this. So you can see the button, and that's because you can't click on it, it can't go anywhere because it's basically just an hash, so it won't go to anywhere. So if you have any question, need assistance, blah blah blah. So that will be the end of this session, and I hope you have actually enjoyed it. So let me quickly update this to welcome to widget. So and this will be, I can os dot get environment email. No, that will be app name. Yeah. So if we refresh our application again and register another user, we should be good. Let's call this one C10. Let's call it let's call this code with C and send. Now if we check our mail again, we can see it is dear code, which is actually the first name of the user, and so on and so forth. So that will be the end of this session. I hope you have been able to catch one or two things. I believe now, with what we've actually done, we've learned how to instantiate a email dialer, an email um, we've learned to instantiate our mailer with the necessary configuration. We've also learned how to actually embed a template inside a running Go programming language by using the Go embedded package. We've also learned how to pass template file and how to actually generate file that we want to actually send email to. We've also learned how to set all the necessary headers such as to, from, subjects. So that will be the end, and I hope to see you in the next session, where we'll be looking at how to actually log user into the application based on the supplied email and password.